I played Halo Combat Evolved 23 years after its release to see if it holds up today, and I was surprised, but not in the way you think. I could have played the beautiful HD rebuild of the first game through the Master Chief Collection and enjoyed the crisp, enhanced graphics. Or I could have popped the Anniversary Edition into the Xbox 360 and experienced the game that way. But no, I chose to play it the worst way I could, which is with the original Xbox game disc. You see, I wanted to see if the original game, and all its pixelated glory, can hold up today. So the question is, does it? Threw the disc into my Xbox, and once I was done listening to that hauntingly beautiful theme, I decided to take a minute to look at the options before diving into the campaign. There were surprisingly very few of them. I looked high and low for a widescreen option, but it became abundantly clear that this would be a 4x3 adventure only. I'm going to focus on the campaign for now, but I'll touch on multiplayer later on. I avoided legendary difficulty like it was an old annoying friend I spotted in the store and had no interest in tolerating, so I stuck to normal throughout this playthrough. Mild spoiler here, I found it harder on just normal mode. You elites who have beaten this game on legendary are true legends yourself. Maybe one day I can join your ranks, but not today. Nostalgia smacked me across the face like a wet salmon when the intro to the first level, the Pillar of Autumn, kicked off. The titular ring against a massive planet, Captain Keyes, Cortana, and everyone's favourite 7-foot-tall motocross enthusiast. It's a testament to the game design that this all feels so familiar and significant despite it being well over 10 years since I last played it. The first 10 minutes of gameplay unrolled just as I remembered, lots of tutorials to learn how to look around and walk and take damage. These days this seems completely redundant and tedious, but it didn't last long, thankfully. The controls felt incredibly stiff once I got my hands on a weapon, but increasing the look sensitivity took care of that. Once it was responsive, it was like riding a bike again. It can't be understated how impressive this was for the time. Prior to 2001, first-person shooters had a very difficult time thriving on consoles. Games like Doom on the PS1 took advantage of automatic vertical targeting, but try playing a game that adopted both analog sticks. It's like your controller spent the day at a wine bar or something. Even GoldenEye and Perfect Dark on the 64 are far from perfect, but we just accepted them like that because nothing better existed yet. In early to mid 2001 we had Unreal Tournament, Quake 3, Time Splitters and Red Faction, which all handled pretty well, but Halo was on another level, and despite my opinions of their ever-evolving wallet-draining project Destiny 2, I can't deny that Bungie have a knack for making a game that feels tight and satisfying. I was especially happy when I got my hands on the assault rifle and started mowing grunts and elites down in my quest to get the hell off the ship. After crash landing on Halo's surface in the escape pod, I got to see the ring from ground level for the first time again. Forget the fact I'm playing this in 480p. Forget the screen ratio, even in its poorest form, this part of Halo still hits hard. Looking straight up to the other side of the ring is both exciting and nauseating. I also experienced the first semi-open world level in the game and got the thrilling experience of driving the worst handling military vehicle in existence. Why does the Warthog slide everywhere, even at low speeds? Are the wheels made of ball bearings or something? This honestly baffled me as a kid, and it still does now. Hilariously, it handles like it's on ice when it's on grass, but then there's ice in the game. So yeah, I suggest you don't drive it on the ice. I also met the Jackals for the first time and found them easy enough to slay. They remain about as threatening as grunts for the entire game. Their shields weaken the more they are shot, but aiming at their feet dispatches them quickly. You start the level with a Magnum and an assault rifle. The Magnum is actually pretty good, and one of only 2 guns in the game that allows you to zoom. I also learned in this level how underpowered the assault rifle is. God forbid you encounter a red armoured elite and you've only got your assault rifle handy. You'll drop a clip into it before it dies and it just feels like a rapid fire pea shooter by then. You can swap a weapon out for the plasma rifle for a taste of Covenant energy based weaponry, and this gun is okay apart from the fact it overheats very quickly and easily. I was burning Chief's hand non-stop at one point. The Needler is a gun I still don't fully understand. At first I thought these semi-homing darts exploded upon reloading, but now I think they are just delayed or explode when clustered enough into the face of the enemy. It's a great weapon, but only in specific situations. The plasma pistol honestly felt like the best pick of the lot at this stage. Another battery-based weapon that can overheat, but it has no delay between shots, so you can rapidly fire that thing as fast as your index finger moves. Plus, you can charge it up for a single high-impact blast. It was easily the most enjoyable weapon to use during the stage of the game. Despite this, I found myself a little frustrated that I didn't have a weapon that felt universally powerful. The fights were a bit of a grind at times, and maybe that's just it, different weapons for different enemies, which meant I had to be strategic. I had to remember where I saw a weapon stash or a fallen enemy if I found myself against the odds further down the track. I was certain the old graphics and nearly square aspect ratio would bother me. By the end of the second level, I wasn't really thinking about it. Actually, I kind of liked it, to be honest. Granted, the characters looked hand-modelled from clay by a quadriplegic, but there are some moments where it feels newer than it is. If there was one thing the Xbox had over the PS2, it was bump mapping. It was this technique where 2D surfaces looked 3D, and even reflected dynamic lighting in the same way. In the level Truth and Reconciliation, and later on in the level Keys, you have to fight through a Covenant ship. The purple walls and rounded design really pop and feel exclusive to Halo, if you know what I mean. It's one of many aspects of the game that just feels familiar and totally Halo. Like your uncle's iconic laugh or your mother's signature perfume. I can't speak about this without touching on the consistency between Covenant ships, vehicles and weapons. It's cohesive and grounded, as is everything about the human technology in this world. Enemies react appropriately if you throw a frag grenade, or better yet, stick a plasma grenade to them. The grunts run around screaming, which can be hilarious. The elites tend to sidestep when they're in your path of fire too. This situational awareness is great, and it's not something I feel I've experienced very often these days. Conversely, compared to shooters of today, Halo is very basic. There is no cover system, no weapon progression, no lean and peek, no iron sight assigned to the left trigger. It's very much like an arena shooter, which shows the influence of shooters that have come before. And the simplicity is refreshing. The strength of the gameplay lies in the challenge and the forethought. High intensity firefights are divided by quiet moments of exploration and relief. It's very much an easy to pick up, hard to master kind of game. Combine this with its hugely popular co-op aspect and you've got a hooting good time. It's not all sunshine and ring-shaped Forerunner installations though. A friggin' mini-map would have been handy at times. Some levels, 343 Guilty Spark for example, can look very samey in all directions, and it's easy to get lost. You've got the radar, yes, but it doesn't show me the nearest bloody exit. And, oh my lord, what I'd give for a sprint button in this game, especially when you encounter the Flood later on. Oh, and Cortana needs to speak up. The music drowns her out at times. I wish I could turn it down, but there's no option for it. The sniper rifle is an absolute OP monster and I love it. Using it at the start of Truth and Reconciliation is very, very satisfying. It's also got a simple but brilliant feature where the crosshair turns red when you're aiming directly at the enemy. This is a great way of dealing with pixelation of enemies at great distances where you can barely see anything. I would say after completing the game, my favourite enemy would be the Hunter. They are very powerful, often charge at you, and they hunt in pairs. It's just a great enemy that requires a bit of strategy. They also have a super sensitive weak spot on their back. I used to like Captain Keyes, but you literally have to do an escort mission and he died 5 times on me. Like, honestly, I should make a video game sins list. This would be up near the top for sure. It was around this point I started exploring to find invisibility and overshield pickups. These can literally save your ass at many points in the game. I forgot to mention it earlier, but Halo CE has a health pack system too. In the 4th level, you eventually get the rocket launcher. Oh boy. I thought the sniper rifle was overpowered. This thing is nearly nuclear. I managed to drop 2 hunters at once with this weapon. There were times where I encountered yellow armoured, sword-wielding elites, and I just resorted to sending a missile their way. In terms of vehicles, well, the Ghost is excellent fun. Nimble but feels weighty. The Scorpion is the human tank. Its cannon has a slow fire rate, but it's nuke level powerful too. It kills ghosts in 1 shot and the enemy Wraith tanks in 2. Your shield takes damage even when inside the tank though, which, and correct me if I'm wrong, defeats the purpose of using a tank. Halo does something risky that I absolutely love. The story, setting and combat takes a hard left just after the midpoint and it worked. So far, combat in the game has been centered around grunts, elites, jackals and hunters. Then we meet the only enemy the Covenant fear. the Flood. It's also after the halfway point we finally get the shotgun, and for good reason. It is easily the best weapon in the game, in my opinion. A majority of the Flood use swarming and rushing tactics to fight, which makes the shotgun the perfect antidote. It's also perfect for higher tier elites in the red, blue and silver armor. There is one aspect of the game that is the subject of controversy. A lot of players felt like Bungie recycled assets from previous levels a lot. Honestly, I can see exactly why you would think that, especially in the infamous level, the library. Infamous because it is basically the same room over and over and over again for about half an hour, depending on what difficulty you're playing on. The thing is, there's a possibility that this design is actually genius. You see, this is where you get to experience the nauseating feeling of not being able to escape the Flood. It seems to be a key tactic for the Flood to appear in areas you have cleared previously. Combine this with a seemingly endless maze of cold, dark hallways and a floating ball that's way too happy, and you've got yourself a truly terrifying experience. I was getting overwhelmed quite a lot in this level, and boy, I was happy when I found a health pack or two and a whole lot of shotgun ammunition. It's safe to say that if this was Bungie's goal, they absolutely nailed it. Nevertheless, I absolutely hate that level. Up until this point, Halo had been offering something new in each level, whether it be a new weapon or a new vehicle for you to use. In the following level, 2 Betrayals, you finally get to use a Banshee. Back in the day, there was something cutting edge about suddenly being able to explore all of the space that you could only see from ground view. Flying the Banshee around is easy enough, I guess. But God forbid you fly over a Wraith and catch a stray plasma bomb, or fly over a large group of enemies on the ground who will just shoot you down like a dead pheasant. It's also around this point of the game where I started getting overwhelmed, even though I was playing carefully. I don't know whether some areas in the game are supposed to encourage cooperative play, but the best tactic ended up being running around or straight through them. I think I did this about 10 times, especially when I encountered the Flood. I don't know whether this is a positive or a negative thing. On one hand, you could argue Halo encourages different approaches to making it to the next checkpoint. On the other hand, maybe I just need to get better at the game. It's probably that. I guess I haven't really said much about the story yet. By this point in the game, we've learned why the Halo was built and why we need to destroy it. Gameplay and cinematics are balanced out almost perfectly. At the beginning, midpoint and end of some levels, there'll be a cinematic giving you only the detail you need to know and delivering it in a way that keeps it interesting. I personally don't like games that have long action-packed cutscenes that I'd rather be playing. Simply put, Halo has characters that talk in short, charismatic bursts to give context and mild exposition. I'd just appreciate it if they spoke a bit louder. That's my only complaint in that department. Overall, the single player experience, even on the original disc, is still fun and adequately challenging. If you had some friends come over on a weekend and they're into retro games, you could easily sit down with just the Xbox and Halo Combat Evolved and have a great time for hours on end. So finally we come to the question I asked at the start of this video. Does Halo Combat Evolved Original Xbox Edition hold up in 2024? Yes, but barely. And here are my reasons why. I had some serious frame rate tanking in the single player campaign that made it unplayable at times. If you've been playing any modern shooters, the controller layout will feel a little strange for a while. It'll also take you a bit to get used to a lack of mechanics we're accustomed to. Iron sights, cover systems, a sprint button. It's saved by the tight, satisfying handling, the great vehicle and environmental designs, the Xbox's exclusive graphical capabilities of the time, the soundtrack, and a big slab of nostalgia. But what if you take the nostalgia away? Well, I'll put it like this. If you're a collector of retro things and love to play games exclusively from 20 plus years ago, this would be your best version. If you're happy with nothing more than the Xbox 360 or you want to stay away from online requirements, then go for the Anniversary Edition. And if you just want to experience Halo in any form, then I'd suggest you get the Master Chief Collection and play it in 4K with the graphical rebuild. And that's it for my modern review. What do you think of Halo? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you not care? Thanks for watching. Please join me in the next video. Be safe. Bye.